The camera glides through Riverside Park like a ghost, capturing fragments of an ordinary afternoon. Children's laughter echoes in slow motion. An elderly man feeds ducks by the pond. Joggers weave between ancient oak trees whose branches have witnessed decades of human stories. But today, something darker stirs beneath this peaceful facade. "Hey, sweetheart, let's see what's hiding under that pretty dress." The words slice through the tranquil air like a blade through silk. They don't belong here, in this sanctuary of family picnics and quiet reflection. The voice carries the stench of corrupted authority, of power twisted into something vile and predatory. Two figures in navy blue, badges gleaming, authority weaponized, behind. A cluster of blooming azaleas. Nature's cruel irony. They corner their prey. A young black woman in a yellow summer dress. The contrast couldn't be more stark. Beauty surrounded by ugliness. Innocence confronted by malice. What happens when those sworn to protect become the predators? When the badge becomes a license for brutality? When a peaceful afternoon transforms into a moment that will shake an entire city? This is the story of Special Agent Zara Williams. But she doesn't know she's about to become the protagonist of her own nightmare. Welcome to the Black Side Stories. Before we continue, tell me in the comments from which city in the world are you watching this video today? And if you believe stories like this deserve to be remembered, subscribe to our channel and help us share their stories. Riverside Park sprawls across 300 acres of Millbrook's heart, a metropolitan oasis where the city's soul still breathes. Ancient oaks tower over manicured lawns. A crystal lake reflects the afternoon sun like scattered diamonds. Winding trails disappear into shadows where couples walk hand in hand and families spread checkered blankets. Millbrook, population 180,000, represents the American experiment in miniature. Glass towers pierce the downtown skyline, symbols of prosperity and progress. But drive 10 minutes in any direction, and you'll find neighborhoods where that prosperity never quite arrived. Where social tensions simmer just below the surface, Riverside Park was supposed to be neutral ground, a place where differences dissolved into shared humanity. At least, that was the theory. Meet Zara Williams, though she'd rather you didn't. Not today. At 28, she embodies a contradiction: soft curves and steel resolve, gentle intelligence and lethal training. Her chocolate skin glows with health and vitality. Her eyes, deep brown pools that seem to hold ancient wisdom, are currently lost in the pages of a Tana French novel. Her hair, braided in intricate cornrows, represents more than style. It's heritage, pride, a connection to ancestors who survived. Far worse than anything modern America could devise. 3 months ago, Zara wrapped up the cartel infiltration case that nearly cost her everything. 18 months undercover. 18 months of sleeping with one eye open, of crafting lies so convincing she sometimes forgot her own truth. The Bureau mandated 3 weeks of psychological evaluation. 3 weeks of talking to doctors who'd never felt a gun pressed against their temple, who'd never had to smile while evil men planned atrocities. Today marks her first official day off. No surveillance, no cover stories, no life or death decisions masquerading as casual conversation. She chose this bench specifically, tucked behind an ancient oak, overlooking a meadow where wildflowers dance in the breeze. Her yellow floral dress, light as whispered promises, stops just above her knees. Simple leather sandals, a small crossbody bag containing only the essentials: wallet, phone, keys, and escape into fiction for the first time in months. Special Agent Zara Williams allows herself to simply be Zara. The irony would be almost poetic if it weren't so tragic. Officer Brad Stevens, 35, approaches with the swagger of a man who's never faced real consequences. 10 years on the force have taught him that the badge is armor, the uniform is camouflage, and the public is prey. His partner, Officer Kyle Morrison, 29, follows like a loyal dog. Bigger, dumber, but equally dangerous. He joined the force to feel important, to command respect he'd never earned through character or competence. Patrol duty. The word tastes like stale coffee and broken dreams. 20 years ago, he'd imagined himself as a detective, maybe even federal law enforcement. Now he spends his days writing traffic tickets and breaking up domestic disputes. But power he understands. Power over people who can't fight back. Power that comes with the badge and the gun and the unspoken understanding that his word matters more than theirs. "Look, Kyle," Stevens murmurs, his voice carrying the oily satisfaction of a predator who's spotted wounded prey. "See that sweet little thing sitting all alone?" Morrison's eyes narrow, a grotesque smile spreading across his face like spilled oil. "Pretty little thing. Probably waiting for business. Guess today's customers are law and order." Their laughter is obscene, a sound that makes mockery of their uniforms, their oaths, their very humanity. They change course, boots crunching deliberately on gravel. They want her to hear them coming. Fear is part of the game. Something shifts in the air. Call it intuition, call it training, call it the whispered warnings of ancestors who survived by reading danger in the wind as Zara's fingers tighten imperceptibly on her book. Her breathing remains steady, but her awareness expands like ripples. On still water, she catalogs sounds, approaching footsteps, deliberate and predatory. Voices, male, confident, cruel. Every instinct screams danger, but her training demands patience. Observe, assess, react only when necessary. She has no idea. She's about to become the main character in her own nightmare. The shadows fall across her before she looks up. Two silhouettes against the afternoon sun, positioned to force her to squint, to appear vulnerable. "Good afternoon, officers," she says, her voice carrying the perfect pitch of respectful civility. "May I help you?" Professional. Polite. Exactly what any reasonable citizen would say. Stevens doesn't return the greeting. His eyes crawl over her like insects, from face to feet and back again. The assessment is deliberate, dehumanizing. "What are you doing here?" The question is meaningless, designed to establish dominance rather than gather information. "As you can see, I'm reading a book." Zara's voice remains steady, but those trained in reading micro-expressions would notice the slight tightening around her eyes. "This park is for families, not a public library. We've received reports of suspicious activity. Someone matching your description." The lie hangs in the air like smoke. Zara almost smiles at the sheer audacity of it. Almost as she's seen this script before, hundreds of times, in surveillance footage and case files. The manufactured excuse. The escalating demands. The systematic stripping away of dignity and rights. She never imagined she'd be reading from it herself. "Identification," Stevens demands, his hand extended with the casual expectation of compliance. Zara sighs internally. She wants peace, not confrontation. She opens her small purse, withdraws her wallet, and slides out her driver's license. Her FBI credentials remain hidden behind her credit cards. Stevens takes the license, studying it with theatrical intensity. His smirk reveals teeth stained yellow by coffee and tobacco. "Zara Williams, born 94. You look younger than your age, little girl." He turns the license over in dirty fingers, a gesture designed to demonstrate his power over her property, her identity, her very existence. "Do you live at this address?" he asks, though the answer sits in his palm. "Live alone. Must get lonely at night." Morrison's cackle makes Zara's skin crawl. "We could stop by later, check on your security. Make sure you're safe." The line has been crossed. This isn't suspicion or investigation. This is predation, pure and simple. Two men with badges using their authority to terrorize a woman for their own sick pleasure. Zara Williams, the private citizen, wants to avoid confrontation. But Special Agent Williams recognizes a federal crime in progress. "Officer," she says, her voice beginning to carry an edge like winter wind. "Those questions are completely inappropriate and irrelevant to your duties. You've verified my identity. Please return my license and move along." Stevens feels the challenge like a slap. In his worldview, respect is a zero-sum game. Her dignity comes at the cost of his authority. "Look who's getting tough," he sneers, but his smile doesn't reach his eyes. "We're just concerned about the safety of a beautiful citizen like you. How can you be so ungrateful? What are you hiding?" "The only thing I want to hide is my disgust with your unprofessional conduct," Zara replies, no longer attempting to maintain the facade of deference. "You are overstepping your authority. This is your final warning. Return my property and leave, or I will file formal complaints for harassment and abuse of power." Badge numbers 714 and 822. Her precise recitation of their badge numbers sends a chill through both men. For a moment, doubt flickers across their faces. But the threat of accountability, rather than deterring them, ignites something darker. For men like Stevens and Morrison, being corrected by a black woman represents the ultimate challenge to their perceived natural order. Stevens's expression transforms, cruelty replacing uncertainty. He glances at Morrison, a look loaded with meaning, with shared understanding of what comes next. Complaint? That sounds scary. But before you do that, we need to conduct a more thorough check. By law, we have the right to search if we suspect. A subject may be carrying weapons or contraband. His voice drops to a whisper that carries more menace than any shout. And you, sweetheart, look very suspicious to me. Before Zara can stand or react, Morrison lunges forward, his large hands clamping around her arm with bruising force. Get up, he bellows, his voice carrying across the park like thunder as Zara's training kicks in. Assessment, options, tactical responses. She could disable Morrison in 3 moves, break Stevens's wrist before he could draw his weapon. But the cost would be catastrophic. Assaulting police officers, even in self-defense, would destroy her career and jeopardize active investigations. She has to endure. She has to wait. They drag her from the bench, her novel falling to the ground like a discarded hope. Not toward the main path where witnesses might intervene, but toward a secluded grove behind thick azalea bushes. What the hell are you doing? This is illegal detention. Let me go, Zara shouts, hoping to attract attention. An elderly couple in the distance glances their way, but quickly averts their eyes. The uniform provides its own camouflage. Who questions police officers doing their job? Morrison pins her arms behind her back, while Stevens positions himself in front, his baton gleaming in the filtered sunlight. Hey, sweetheart, Stevens says, his voice thick with sadistic pleasure. Let's see what's hiding under that pretty dress. The metal baton, symbol of lawful authority, becomes an instrument of humiliation as he uses it to lift Zara's yellow dress. For a heartbeat that feels like eternity, Zara's world shatters. The cool afternoon air against her exposed skin, the sound of their triumphant laughter, the violation of her dignity, her humanity, her very soul. But Special Agent Zara Williams wasn't trained to break. She takes a breath, deep, controlled, centering. The chaos of emotion crystallizes into something harder, colder, infinitely more dangerous. The panicked victim disappears. In her place stands a federal agent facing a hostile situation. Her face, contorted with anger moments before, becomes an expressionless mask of professional calm. Her eyes, wide with shock, narrow into laser-focused assessment tools. Stevens and Morrison sense the change immediately. Their triumphant grins falter, replaced by confusion and the first whisper of unease. You too, Zara says, her voice now carrying the authority of the federal government itself, have just made the final mistake of your pathetic careers. Stevens tries to maintain his facade of control, but his voice betrays him with a slight tremor. Oh yeah? What are you gonna do? Call your daddy? Zara doesn't dignify the taunt with a response. Instead, she makes a slow, deliberate movement toward her crossbody bag, the one they'd been too arrogant to search. What are you reaching for? Morrison demands, instinctively stepping back. Got pepper spray in there. What emerges isn't pepper spray. It's a small black leather bifold wallet, crafted from the finest materials, carrying the weight of federal authority. With a decisive movement, Zara opens it. Afternoon sunlight, filtered through ancient leaves, catches the gold badge and transforms it into something almost divine. The eagle at its center seems to spread its wings. The words Department of Justice gleam at the top, while Federal Bureau of Investigation commands attention below. Beside the badge, encased in crystal-clear plastic, her identification card displays her photograph, her name, and her title in bold, unforgiving print. Special Agent. Even the wind seems to hold its breath. Stevens and Morrison stare at the badge, their eyes wide with horror, pupils contracted with shock. All color drains from their faces, leaving them the ashen white of absolute terror. Special Agent Zara Williams, she announces, her voice carrying the cold authority of Winter Steel, Federal Bureau of Investigation. She raises her head, her eyes like twin drills boring into their consciousness. Every word that follows is measured, precise, carrying the weight of federal law. Officer Brad Stevens, badge number 714, and Officer Kyle Morrison, badge number 822. Based on your recent actions, you are now under federal investigation for multiple felonies, including third-degree assault, sexual harassment, abuse of power under color of law, false imprisonment, and violation of civil rights pursuant to Title 18, Sections 241 and 242 of the United States Code. Each charge hits them like a physical blow. The carefully constructed world where their badges made them untouchable crumbles with every syllable. FBI? Federal? No, this can't be real. You're lying. That badge is fake. His voice cracks like a teenager's, desperation bleeding through his attempted authority. Zara's smile carries no warmth, only the satisfaction of justice about to be served. Would you like me to provide my badge number, Officer Stevens? It's 7:35 p.m. You're welcome to call your dispatch to verify. Or perhaps you'd prefer to wait for your supervisor to arrive and confirm it in person. Morrison begins to shake visibly, his eyes darting between Stevens and Zara like a trapped animal seeking escape. Oh God, Brad, he whispers, his voice barely audible. She's real. We're finished. We're completely finished. She retrieves her phone with the same deliberate calm she's maintained throughout the encounter. I'm going to make 2 calls, she announces. The first is to your immediate supervisor, Chief Robert Hayes. I'm certain he'll be fascinated to learn about his officer's community outreach efforts. She pauses, letting the implications sink in. The second call is to the FBI field office in Millbrook, requesting a team to assist with evidence collection and federal case preparation. Her gaze fixes on both men with predatory intensity. But before I do, I'm giving you one final order as a federal officer in the performance of my duties. Face the trees. Hands behind your heads. Spread your legs. Do not move. Do not speak. Failure to comply will result in additional charges of obstruction of justice. You have 5 seconds. 5, 4. In the face of absolute federal authority, all their swagger evaporates. They are revealed for what they truly are. Cowards facing the abyss of their own making. They stumble forward, hands trembling as they assume the position against the azalea bushes. The same bushes that moments ago provided cover for their crimes. Now witness their humiliation. Zara maintains tactical distance, phone in hand, watching 2 uniformed backs that now look pathetic rather than intimidating. Marcus, it's Zara. I'm at Riverside Park. I have a situation involving 2 local officers. Send me a 2-person team to the east entrance. Bring evidence collection and contact the federal prosecutor's office. Yes, the situation is under control. Her voice remains completely calm, as if she were ordering coffee rather than initiating a federal investigation. The second call brings immediate panic from the other end of the line. Chief Hayes, this is Special Agent Williams, FBI. I'm at Riverside Park with 2 of your officers, Stevens and Morrison, in custody for assault and civil rights violations. I need you and your internal affairs captain here within 15 minutes. The silence on the other end is deafening. Then a sharp intake of breath, the sound of a chair scraping back. I'm coming, Agent Williams. Please, don't do anything. We're on our way immediately. Less than 15 minutes later, a convoy of police vehicles, sirens silent, but lights flashing like emergency Christmas trees, floods into Riverside Park. Chief Robert Hayes, a graying man in his late 60s whose usually gentle demeanor is now twisted with worry and shame, practically runs to the location Zara specified. Behind him, Captain Michael Torres, head of internal affairs, maintains his stoic expression while internally calculating the damage. Simultaneously, the FBI's black sedan arrives with the precise timing of federal efficiency, the scene that greets them will haunt their memories forever. 2 police officers, known for their arrogance and brutality, bent in submission against a wall of flowering bushes. Across from them, a beautiful young woman in a summer dress commands the situation with quiet authority, while 2 FBI agents in crisp suits observe with professional detachment. Chief Hayes feels his blood pressure spike as the full implications crash over him. Agent Williams, he begins, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger, shame, and fear. On behalf of the entire Millbrook Police Department, I offer you my most sincere apologies. This behavior is unacceptable, unforgivable. Zara nods with the grace of someone who holds all the cards. Thank you, Chief. Your apology is noted, but now isn't the time for words. Now is the time for action. I want these officers disarmed immediately, handcuffed, and transported to your facility. Officer Stevens's baton will be sealed as evidence in a federal case. Their badges, weapons, and any other department property will be secured. Captain Torres signals to the senior officers, who execute Zara's requests with military precision. As the cold steel handcuffs click around their wrists, the last vestiges of Stevens and Morrison's dignity crumble. Agent, please, Stevens begins. To sob, tears and mucus streaming down his face. We were wrong. We're idiots. It was just a stupid joke. Please, I have a family, children. Don't destroy our lives. Zara turns to face him, her eyes devoid of sympathy. A joke? She repeats, her voice carrying the weight of generations of injustice. You call abuse of power, sexual assault, and the humiliation of a citizen a joke? Your family isn't an excuse for your despicable behavior. You chose the wrong person to joke with, and now you'll face the full consequences of your actions. She turns away, dismissing them as thoroughly as they had attempted to dismiss her humanity. Security footage from park cameras captures the incident from multiple angles. Witness statements from the elderly couple confirm the officer's aggressive behavior. Internal affairs investigation reveals a pattern of complaints systematically buried. Federal prosecutors review charges that could result in years of imprisonment. Civil rights organizations rally behind the case. Media coverage exposes departmental corruption faced with overwhelming evidence and the prospect of federal prosecution. Stevens and Morrison accept a plea agreement through their attorneys. They resign in disgrace, forfeit all pension benefits, and are permanently barred from law enforcement employment nationwide. The incident forces Chief Hayes to implement sweeping reforms, including the dismissal of several supervisors who had covered up previous misconduct and comprehensive retraining programs for all personnel. The camera returns to where it all began, but now the light has changed. Golden hour transforms the park into something almost sacred, shadows long and soft, the harsh edges of afternoon smoothed into gentle curves. Zara Williams sits on the same bench, her novel open, but her eyes are on the horizon. The invisible scars remain, but they haven't broken her. If anything, they've forged her into something stronger, more determined. This story echoes beyond the boundaries of Riverside Park, beyond the city limits of Millbrook, beyond any single incident. It speaks to a truth that runs deeper than headlines or hashtags. Power corrupts most dangerously when wielded by those who believe themselves beyond accountability, but it also speaks to another truth, one that offers hope in the darkness. True power doesn't come from a badge or a uniform or a weapon. True power comes from within, from the courage to stand against injustice, from the strength to maintain dignity in the face of degradation, from the wisdom to know that every ending can become a new beginning. Zara Williams could have been anyone. A teacher heading home from school, a nurse finishing a double shift, a mother enjoying a rare moment of peace. The only thing that separated her from countless other victims was the badge hidden in her purse. But what about those who don't carry federal credentials? What about those whose complaints disappear into bureaucratic black holes? What about those whose voices are silenced before they can speak? The camera retreats from Zara, from the bench, from the park itself, rising until the entire scene becomes a single frame in the larger picture of America, a nation still grappling with the balance between authority and justice, between power and accountability, between the badge and the person who wears it. In the end, perhaps the most profound truth is this: we are all capable of both great evil and great good. The difference lies not in our positions or our titles, but in the choices we make when we think no one is watching. In Riverside Park, under the ancient oaks that have witnessed countless human dramas, Justice wore a yellow summer dress and carried a book of poetry. Sometimes, that's exactly what justice looks like. This has been the Black Side Stories. Until next time, remember, behind every great achievement is someone who stood watch, someone who believed, someone who preserved what matters when no one else was looking.